Let's begin. After football practice, we slipped beneath the bleachers, hidden from the world, and Liam kissed me for the first time. In that moment, it felt like nothing else mattered. His Letterman jacket draped over my shoulders, its buttons cool against my skin, but his warmth pulled me in. His hand shook slightly as he cupped my face, the scent of freshly cut grass lingering on him, a reminder of how simple and thrilling everything felt back then. That was 3 years ago, when every touch felt electric and every glance meant something. Now, at 20, I spend more time staring at my phone than looking at him. Our Friday nights, once unpredictable and full of adventure, cruising in his old Corolla, sharing fries at the diner, stealing moments of laughter and connection, have turned into quiet nights of routine. We sit in his parents' living room, the TV droning on while we scroll through our screens in silence. Even our kisses feel automatic, like we're holding on to something that isn't there anymore. Last weekend, I met Harper for coffee at our usual spot downtown. The cafe buzzed with its typical Saturday morning crowd, the air thick with the aroma of fresh pastries. The barista knew our orders by heart. Vanilla latte for me, Americano for Harper. As I stirred my drink absently, I told her how Liam and I barely talk anymore, how movie nights have turned into silent scrolling sessions. She leaned forward, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against her cup. "Maybe you need to spice things up," she suggested. "Have you ever thought about opening up your relationship?" I nearly choked on my drink. "Like, seeing other people?" "Yeah, but ethically. You both agreed to it. Set boundaries. It's not cheating if everyone's honest." She lowered her voice. "My cousin tried it with her boyfriend. Said it made them appreciate each other more." The idea planted itself in my mind and wouldn't leave. That night, lying in my childhood bedroom surrounded by photos of Liam and me at proms and football games, I scrolled through articles about open relationships until my eyes hurt. It made perfect sense. We could explore and grow while still having each other as anchors. We wouldn't have to throw away 3 years of history just because we were curious about what else was out there. It took me a week to convince Liam. Every time we met, I brought it up casually, like dropping little seeds of possibility. At lunch in our campus cafe, between classes in the crowded hallways, curled up on his parents' couch, I watched his face carefully as I spoke. "Think about it," I'd say, my tone light but deliberate. "We're only 20. Shouldn't we experience more before settling down completely?" He'd shake his head, those warm brown eyes clouding with worry, but I kept pushing. I painted pictures of adventure and freedom, assuring him that we'd still be us. Over pizza at Mario's, our favorite joint since sophomore year, I pressed harder. This could make us stronger. We'd know we chose each other over everyone else. Finally, last night he agreed. We were sitting in his car outside my apartment, the streetlight casting shadows across his face. The same face I'd memorized years ago, though somehow it looked different now. "If this is what you really want," he said quietly, his fingers drumming nervously on the steering wheel. I leaned over and kissed him, relief and excitement bubbling in my chest. "It'll be perfect," I promised. "You'll see." Looking back now, I wonder if I saw the doubt in his eyes and chose to ignore it. Maybe I was too caught up in the possibility of something new to notice that I might be breaking something that didn't need fixing. When she first mentioned an open relationship, I thought she was joking. We were watching TV in my basement, the familiar smell of Mom's fabric softener on the throw pillows, the den in the couch where we always sit. Everything felt normal until those words left her mouth. It was like someone had suddenly changed the rules of a game I thought I knew by heart. I tried brushing it off, but she wouldn't let it go. Every time we met that week, she brought it up, over burgers at Danny's, during our usual Wednesday study session at the library, even between classes when we'd meet by her locker like we used to in high school. Except now, instead of sharing gummy bears and complaining about teachers, she was sharing articles about successful open relationships. "Think about it logically," she'd say, using that tone she gets when she's trying to convince me of something. The same one she used when she wanted to sneak into the midnight showing of that horror movie junior year. "We're too young to limit ourselves. Don't you want to know what else is out there?" But I didn't. I was happy with our Friday movie nights, with knowing exactly how she takes her coffee. Vanilla creamer, no sugar. With the way she steals my hoodies and pretends she forgot to return them. I didn't need anything else. The thought of her with someone else made my stomach twist into knots. My buddy Ryan warned me when I told him about it. We were shooting hoops in his driveway, the ball thumping against concrete like a countdown. "Man, that's how relationships end," he said, missing a three-pointer. "Once you open that door, you can't close it." The basketball rolled into the grass, forgotten, as Ryan shared stories about his cousin's failed open relationship experiment. But all I could think about was how her eyes lit up when she talked about this new possibility, how they hadn't sparkled like that in months when looking at me. Each time she brought it up, my resistance weakened a little more. Her argument started making a twisted kind of sense, or maybe I just got tired of fighting. Last night, I finally gave in. We were parked outside her place, the same spot where I first told her I loved her 2 years ago. She was looking at me with those big green eyes that got me in trouble back in high school, the streetlight catching the tiny gold flecks in them. "Okay," I said, the word feeling heavy in my mouth. She smiled like I'd given her the best gift ever, but all I could think about was how different things would be now. As I watched her walk to her door, I remembered our first date at the carnival sophomore year, how nervous I'd been to hold her hand on the Ferris wheel. Now I was agreeing to let her date other guys, and somehow, that made me more nervous than any carnival ride ever could. Dating Tom from accounting started easily enough. Coffee breaks turned into lunch dates, and soon we were meeting after work. He's good-looking in that corporate way, crisp shirts, perfect haircut, expensive cologne. Everything felt exciting at first, like I was starring in my own romance novel. No history, no expectations, just pure attraction. Our first kiss happened in the parking garage after work. It was nothing like kissing Liam. Tom was all confidence and practice moves. I felt sophisticated, worldly, when he invited me to his apartment. Everything moved fast, like a movie on fast forward. The sex was good, technically perfect, even, but afterward, lying in his expensive sheets, I felt strangely empty. That's when I started missing Liam's little quirks. The way he absent-mindedly plays with my hair while we watch TV, how he remembers to order extra pickles for me even though he hates them, the specific sound of his laugh when he's truly happy. Tom never laughs like that. Everything about him feels calculated. Last week, I caught myself checking my phone during dinner with Tom, hoping to see Liam's name pop up. The restaurant was fancy, the kind of place Liam and I would visit only for special occasions, making jokes about the tiny portions and unpronounceable menu items. With Tom, it felt like a business meeting with benefits. That's when I knew this experiment wasn't fixing anything. Instead of feeling freer, I felt lost. The thrill of something new had worn off, leaving me with the realization that what Liam and I had was special, just in need of some care and attention. Yesterday, I finally worked up the courage to tell Liam I wanted to end the open relationship. I planned it carefully, invited him to our old spot at the lake, even wore his favorite sundress. The setting sun painted everything golden, just like in those romantic movies we used to watch together. "I think we should go back to being exclusive," I said, my heart racing with hope. His response felt like a punch to the gut. "I've just now started enjoying it," he said quietly. "I've been seeing Sarah Miller, and Jessica from chemistry class, and Katie from our old Spanish club." The names hit me one by one. Girls we knew from high school, girls who had watched our relationship grow, girls who had congratulated us at prom. Each name felt like a betrayal. Each familiar face a knife, twisting deeper. "They're not just hookups," he continued, his voice steady in a way that terrified me. "I'm actually connecting with them." I sat there, watching the sunset turn blood red, feeling like the biggest fool in the world. While I'd been playing sophisticated adult with Tom, Liam had been building real connections with girls who knew our history, who shared our past. The jealousy hit me like a wave, threatening to drown me. All those nights, I thought he was home pining for me. He was out discovering that he could be happy without me. The realization made me physically sick. This wasn't how it was supposed to go. He was supposed to be waiting for me to come back, not thriving without me. When she suggested opening our relationship, I never expected to be the one embracing it. The first few days were rough. I mostly stayed home, imagining her with other guys. Then Sarah Miller messaged me on Instagram, asking if I wanted to grab coffee and catch up. I almost said no. Sarah had been in our extended friend group since sophomore year. She was there for all our high school moments. But something made me say yes. Maybe loneliness, maybe curiosity. We met at the old diner where she and I used to hang out. Sarah was different from how I remembered her. More confident, funnier. We talked for hours about everything and nothing. She remembered details about my life that even she had forgotten. My dream of opening a classic car restoration shop, my collection of vintage vinyl records. When she kissed me in the parking lot, it felt right in a way I hadn't expected. Jessica from chemistry class came next. We bumped into each other at the campus library, and suddenly those study sessions I used to have with her had a new energy. Jessica gets excited about the same obscure sci-fi books I love, something she always found boring. Then there was Katie from Spanish Club. We reconnected at a mutual friend's party, and she suggested we practice our Spanish together. Our study sessions usually ended up being more English than Spanish, but I've learned more about myself in these conversations than I have in years. Each of these connections has shown me something different about myself. With Sarah, I rediscovered my old passions. Jessica reminds me that it's okay to be unabashedly nerdy about things I love. Katie makes me feel heard in a way I'd forgotten was possible. I started working out again, joined a local car restoration club, picked up my guitar from the basement. The guy in the mirror looks different now, stronger, more confident. The shy boy who used to let her make all the decisions is gone. When she asked to meet at the lake yesterday, wearing that sundress I used to love, I knew what was coming. The old me would have jumped at the chance to go back to our comfortable routine, but that's not who I am anymore. Last night, I made one final attempt to salvage what we had. I invited him to my apartment, the one where we used to spend countless evenings planning our future. I cleaned obsessively all day, arranged everything the way he likes it, even made his favorite pasta, the only recipe I ever bothered to perfect. The familiar smell of garlic and basil filled the air, a desperate attempt to recreate what we once had. He showed up looking different, confident, relaxed. The nervous energy that used to radiate from him was gone. He wore a new jacket I didn't recognize, his hair styled in a way that made him look more mature. The sight of him standing in my doorway, so familiar, yet so changed, made my heart ache. I've been thinking, I started, my rehearsed speech suddenly feeling childish. We made a mistake with this whole open relationship thing. We could go back to how things were, make it work better this time. I'll be more present, more appreciative. We could start fresh. He didn't sit down when I offered. Instead, he leaned against the kitchen counter, a subtle but clear message that he wasn't planning to stay long. The pasta grew cold on the stove as he spoke. She was right about one thing, he said, his voice gentle but firm. We didn't need to grow, but you were wrong about us needing to come back to each other. I've discovered parts of myself I never knew existed. Sarah, Jessica, Katie, they're not just distractions. They've helped me understand what I want in life, what kind of relationship I need. I felt the tears coming but forced them back. But we have history. 3 years, Nick. All those memories, all our plans. History isn't a good enough reason to go backward, he replied. You taught me that actually. When you pushed for this open relationship, you showed me that sometimes we need to let go of what's comfortable to find what's right. The irony of my own words being used against me wasn't lost. I watched as he straightened up, preparing to leave. This wasn't my Liam anymore. The boy who used to agree with everything I suggested, who would have done anything to keep me happy. This was someone new, someone I'd inadvertently helped create. I'm planning on seeing Sarah exclusively now, he continued, his voice steady. It wouldn't be fair to her, or to you, to pretend I can go back. Maybe it's best we stop seeing each other completely. Give ourselves a clean break. The pasta sat untouched as he walked to the door. I wanted to run after him, to remind him of every moment we'd shared, every promise we'd made. But his straight shoulders and confident stride told me it would be useless. The boy who used to melt at my touch was gone, replaced by a man who knew exactly what he wanted, and it wasn't me. After he left, I sat alone in my kitchen, surrounded by the remnants of my failed attempt to recapture the past. The photos on my fridge mocked me, younger versions of us smiling, unaware of how thoroughly I would destroy what we had. I took them down one by one, each memory stinging like salt in a fresh wound. The worst part isn't losing him, it's knowing that I orchestrated this entire disaster. I pushed for an open relationship, convinced it would solve our problems. Instead, it solved us, just not in the way I'd intended. He found his voice, his confidence, his independence. And I found myself alone, holding the remains of a relationship I dismantled with my own hands. They say be careful what you wish for. I wished for freedom, for excitement, for change. I got all three, just not the way I wanted. Now, sitting in my empty apartment with cold pasta and fallen tears, I realize some changes can't be undone. Once opened, some doors cannot be closed. Additionally, the individual who advises playing with fire is occasionally the one who suffers the most severe burns. In the weeks that followed, I couldn't shake the image of Liam moving on with Sarah, Jessica, and Katie. The betrayal burned hotter with each passing day, fueling a fire inside me that demanded justice. I began piecing together a plan, one that would make him regret ever letting me go. First, I reached out to an old acquaintance, Marcus, who ran a small tech company. I knew he owed me a favor from college, and I wasn't above calling it in. I need access to someone's social media accounts, I told him over coffee. Can you help? Marcus hesitated but eventually agreed, his loyalty outweighing his moral qualms. Next, I started documenting everything. Every post, every photo, every check-in that hinted at Liam's new life. It didn't take long to notice patterns. Sarah frequented the same upscale yoga studio downtown. Jessica spent her weekends at obscure bookstores and comic conventions. Katie posted regularly about her volunteer work at the community center. They weren't just casual flings. They were becoming integral parts of his world. One evening, while scrolling through their profiles, I stumbled upon something unexpected, a private event invitation. Annual charity gala, it read, hosted by Sarah Miller. Beneath the elegant font was a list of attendees, including Liam. A slow smile spread across my face. This was my chance. The charity gala was held at a sprawling estate on the outskirts of town. Chandeliers glittered above marble floors, and waitstaff circulated with trays of champagne. I arrived fashionably late, dressed in a sleek black gown that hugged my curves in all the right places. My hair was styled in loose waves, and my makeup was flawless, a stark contrast to the messy bun and sweatpants I'd been living in lately. I spotted Liam immediately. He stood near the bar, deep in conversation with Sarah. She looked radiant in a silver dress, her arm looped possessively through his. Watching them together sent a pang of jealousy coursing through me, but I quickly masked it with a practiced smile. "Excuse me," I said, approaching them with feigned surprise. "Liam, is that you?" He turned, his expression shifting from confusion to shock. "What are you doing here?" "Oh, I'm here supporting the cause," I replied breezily, waving a program. "Didn't realize you'd be here too. Small world, isn't it?" Sarah eyed me curiously, clearly sensing the tension. "Do you two know each other?" "We used to," Liam muttered, his jaw tightening. "Well, isn't this lovely?" I said, leaning closer. "Let's catch up later, shall we? There's so much to talk about." As I walked away, I could feel their eyes on me. Phase 1 was complete. Over the next hour, I mingled effortlessly, charming donors and organizers alike. I made sure to position myself strategically, ensuring Liam and Sarah remained within earshot. Every laugh, every compliment, every glance in their direction was calculated. By the time dessert was served, whispers had begun circulating about the mysterious woman in black who seemed to know everyone and everything. Then came phase 2. During a lull in the program, I excused myself to the restroom. Pulling out my phone, I accessed the files Marcus had sent earlier. Among them was a series of compromising messages between Sarah and another man, not Liam. Timing was everything. I returned to the main hall just as speeches resumed. Spotting Liam seated at a table with Sarah, I approached confidently. "Mind if I join you?" I asked, sliding into the seat beside him before either could protest. For the next 20 minutes, I regaled them with stories of my recent travels, my booming career, my glamorous lifestyle. All fabricated, of course, but convincing enough to plant seeds of doubt. When the opportunity arose, I leaned towards Sarah conspiratorially. "By the way," I whispered, loud enough for Liam to hear, "I ran into James earlier. He sends his regards." Her face paled instantly. "What did you say?" Liam asked sharply, turning to Sarah. "It's nothing," she stammered, avoiding his gaze. But the damage was done. By the end of the night, chaos had erupted. Sarah fled the venue in tears, her reputation in tatters. Liam confronted me angrily, demanding answers. I simply shrugged, feigning innocence. Sometimes the truth comes out when you least expect it, I said coolly. As I watched him leave, defeated and humiliated, a strange sense of satisfaction washed over me. Justice had been served, or so I thought. But revenge, I soon realized, is a double-edged sword. Weeks later, as the dust settled, I found myself reflecting on what I'd done. Yes, I'd exacted my revenge, but at what cost? The person I'd become, the manipulative, vengeful version of myself, wasn't someone I recognized or admired. One rainy afternoon, I visited the lake where Liam and I had shared so many memories. Sitting on the dock, I stared at the water, letting the rain wash away my anger. For the first time in months, I allowed myself to grieve, not just for the relationship I'd lost, but for the person I'd been before bitterness consumed me. Perhaps redemption wasn't about punishing others, but about forgiving myself. And maybe, just maybe, it was time to start over, for real this time.